We are back with another used bin update. I ended up with 31 discs for just about $200. Some really good ones in here. We're going to get into the Innova made molds here first, then we'll get into the Discraft, ThoughtSpace, MVP, Prodigy, and more in a second. But we're going to start with this stack here. I hadn't been back, honestly, to replay for like 2 weeks because I was prepping for that Go Throw tour event and we had a blast. But the first thing I saw sitting up in the destroyer bin, because they've got literally 20 to 30 destroyers all the time, was this Paul Macbeth 4-time. Nice, like kind of bluish, purplish, good pop top on it. These are always good ones. It's a star, it's like a pinned, so star destroyer run. So this is a pretty solid pickup, honestly. I'll pick up these 4-time ones in good colors when I can. So this one, we'll throw this and see how that flies from a destroyer perspective. And these are all coming from Replay Sports in McKinney, Texas. Love this store. Doug and Alex are awesome. If you have questions, they're super knowledgeable about disc golf, and they do a ton. I think they have the largest used bin selection in America, if not the world. Who knows? So we ended up with a Star Spider. This is a pre-flight number disc. I've never had the PFN Spider before. It's got a real big bead, which is actually something I like because of the way I hold the disc. So interested to see how this flies, but a cool PFN pickup. And then there's actually a Protostar Toro, which I think some of the first Star Toros were the best. So I picked this up. We'll add it to my Protostar collection. This is probably one of the most exciting ones that I found. So everybody knows the Calvin Heimberg, pink to orange Eagles. Well, I've had, the 12-time rounds, the 11-time rounds, I've bagged those before, but this is one when they just added these flight numbers on here. I don't know if this is specifically the 2015 run or not. It is the Eagle L. So this is not your traditional Eagle X mold, which is what they produce today. You'll have like a big cutout on the wing. This one is more of that like CE style of plastic where this is Champion, but it's completely opaque and feels really good. I think this is some of the best plastic Innova ever produced. So if you know anything about this run of Eagle, let me know. I've actually never seen the 12-time spelled out with the flight numbers before, and I pick up Eagles all the time. And then we ended up with a brand new, nice Tour Series Sidewinder. It's like, look, for 12 bucks, we'll pick it up. It could be a good roller for me. We'll see if I ended up throwing that one. And this one was pretty interesting. Somebody Sharpied this pre-flight number Champion Panther. Again, this is old plastic for sure. Like Innova started adding flight numbers to discs, kind of revolutionized disc golf with flight numbers back in 2009. But before that, nobody was putting flight numbers on discs. So these are really hard to come by. Just like a word of caution, when you find these types of discs with this really old plastic, and you're like, hey, I don't like the Sharpie on there, it's like, please, for the love of God, don't take acetone to the back of this to try to take ink off, because you will literally ruin this disc. It will eat straight through the plastic, and it's going to be a nightmare for you. So anyways, cool pre-flight number Champion Panther. For these old ones, if you don't like the look of this with all the chalkiness, take a little bit of oil. Avocado oil is what I use. Just rub it on there real quick, and it makes it look brand new. And then this was a $4 Nova. I did get the Atlas, and I still haven't really thrown it yet, but I think it'd be fun to do the Nova and the Atlas versus some of the MVP plastics in a disc golf round. So crazy pop. You hear that? That's just ridiculous. Such a weird feeling mold. Doesn't really feel like a disc golf disc, but I've never thrown this before. So I was like, for $4, we'll pick it up. And then this is my destroyer that I found in the used bin. Unfortunately, somebody found this at Trinity at hole 8. From the long pin to the gold basket, or blue basket, I ended up throwing this in the water. Just short. It was a murky day and I couldn't find it. It was right on the bank. So I know who you are who took this disc and didn't call me back. Disc golf etiquette. If you find somebody's disc, text them a picture of the disc where you found it. Leave it somewhere on the course. Hide it if you don't want to deal with returning the disc. But if you find something like this, you never know the story behind the disc. I found my first ace disc in the used bins like a couple weeks ago. So that's never cool. If you find the names on here, do what you can. Try to call them. So I actually forgot to tell them that this was my disc because I'll block out this person's name and number, but they just basically blacked mine out. But if you find your used disc inside Replay, you can let them know, hey, this is my disc, and then they'll basically sell it back to you at cost. So I always appreciate that. They're like, hey, they understand the disc golf world over there in Replay and McKinney. And then they do have some $1 clearance discs they just added, so I would highly recommend getting out there to that store. I ended up with 5 Innova molds. This was $5 for 5 discs. So I ended up with a Splatter Star Destroyer. These are pretty flat. I've never thrown the Splatter Star one, so figured that would be a good pickup. I've got a normal Star Destroyer. This one feels pretty solid too, just like a bottom stamped one. And then another blue. This is like that robot dinosaur one from Ricky that feels actually like it could be a really good forehand destroyer. So that one for $1, easy pickup, could be water disc. And we got another, actually a Tree Love stamped Champion Thunderbird for $1. It's hard to pass up some of the discs in there. I don't want to take them all, but there's some really, really good ones over in that used bin. This is a G-Star Firebird, which is I don't do anything with G-Star. I never really do. So I was like, you know what? If I want to do a plastic comparison, I've got every other plastic, but this basically in a Firebird for $1. Again, easy pickup. And then these are not Innova, not Innova technically, but Innova made these 4 discs. So I've had the Vela before. This is Calvin Heimberg's, basically Eagle X. Like, it is a pretty overstable, well, it's supposed to be overstable, but for some reason the first contact, like Champion one I got was not it. It was flippy. It turned into a roller for me. And this is a nice like triple stamp design. It's kind of weird to see a disc with so much foil on it, but I think it actually looks really good. Some good details. And contrary to some of my other Infinite molds, when I was wholesaling the Halo plastic, always felt like kind of a little too weak. This feels like it could be a legitimate good flyer. I'm definitely going to throw this one. My favorite stamp of all time. This is an Infinite Pharaoh. Now, this was usually on the alpaca. You've got like aliens abducting an alpaca, and it's a nice triple stamp design. I think that's absolutely hilarious, but they did this in a Color Glow Metal Flake run, and this Pharaoh has been thrown like 1 time for $8. This is a bomber disc, but got it because the stamp was so cool. And I've got this Heiser Bomb Mortar first run. Now, this one is like a Millennium mold. Yes, it's Millennium powered. Heiser Bomb is the company. Mortar is the mold. This thing, if I could describe this, it's like a Domi Gator without the bead. I don't know if that makes sense, but actually feels pretty good. I think you could forehand this, throw this for some maybe very, very overstable shots. I think this could fight the wind with how blunt that nose is, but I've never thrown it. And whenever I see some cool discs like that, I definitely want to pick it up. And then if there's anything that isn't too marked up that Innova made Discmania, I always like to pick those up. When I bought that $500 Discmania mystery box and got these discs, I mean, like, I don't know, these might have been the best plastics that Innova ever produced, but this one is awesome. It's DDX. Hasn't been used too much, a little bit of ink on it, but, you know, we'll keep adding it to my Discmania collection. This one, I've already dyed. This was just a Z-Zone. I've got this like rainbow one that I've aced with in a tournament, and I kind of want to replace it, so I was hoping this was going to be the replacement. Thrown it a little bit in some of the other videos if you watch the Hideaway one, but just threw a cool dye on it to match my color scheme. And then with another replacement, I was looking for either a C-line or F-line FD. This one is the Discmania produced one. Like, all the pros are basically being forced off of the Innova plastic, and they're trying to go more towards the Swedish-made plastic, so they're all transitioning out. And I wanted to give these FDs a try. It's got the old Jackal stamp on it, which is pretty cool. It's not just like a normal stamp, but trying to work this in for that S-Line FD that I got that's Innova made with the Team Discmania stamp, because it's just such a rare and hard to find and incredibly hard to replace mold. And so I don't want to get stuck with that as my only option. And then this is an absolutely beautiful disc. I don't honestly like a lot of rainbow or yellow, but the way that this stamp complements the yellow with the ethereal Praxis, this is a Thought Space Athletics disc. They always come out with really cool stamps. And the Praxis is one of my first putters that I just like absolutely loved. It's a little bit more understable, but this is a Infinite VIP Series disc. So these are the triple stamp ones. They always work with the manufacturer once a month. You sign up and you're going to get one of these cool discs with triple stamp. This is number 64. They made 1,200 of these. So there is somewhat of a rarity. These are obviously going to be harder to find. And I actually had one of these when I bought somebody's almost the entire collection of the VIP series, maybe like 2 years ago. But I've already sold that one. This one is just such a cool piece. I will keep that one for myself. And then one of my favorite molds, you probably heard me talk about this, been following, is the Votum. This one is an infinite triple stamp design. I think they threw this on a bunch of different molds from ThoughtSpace. So it's not one of the like typical ThoughtSpace triple stamps that you see, and it's more of like the infinite style with, you know, some hieroglyphics thrown in here and a lot of cool detail with like some pharaohs. So they went with like more of their Egyptian themed type of design. So I actually really like this. And I was actually throwing this in the Go Throw Open. So I've been looking for something that is going to flip up a little bit and just drift. And that disc actually was awesome for me this weekend. And then we're going to keep going with some, you know, TSA plastic, but actual, or not TSA, MVP plastic. This is a patent pending Tesla. It's a neutron Tesla. This one is super swirly for a neutron plastic. Sometimes they just don't come out that way. Super stiff, pretty flat. Feels like it would be a good comparison to an Eagle with how aggressive that wing is. Anyways, patent pending Tesla, pretty cool pickup. And then I saw a Thrill for $8. And this is the original Thrill that's out of production. You probably have heard about Eagle's Thrill that he put in the brick and mortar boxes when I did the Gyropalooza. So if you ever see a Thrill, pick these up. If you ever want to flip these, pretty easy to do. But I never got a chance to throw the Thrill they came out with. So I'm going to go throw this one and see how this flies. It feels like it would just be really good for the forehand. The Panic that I have is my really overstable forehand disc. It's a 14 speed, right? Or 14 and a half, and it's just so thick that this actually might fit in the bag. So picked up a cool older Thrill. I don't think it's patent pending, so it's just a little bit older of a run. And then this is a $1 Streamline Trace. But what caught my eye was the DFX stamp. They do these limited edition runs just like Infinite does. So if you are collecting and you're looking for some of these cooler stamp designs, I would highly recommend DFX discs with their monthly subscription box or the Infinite VIP box. I've done both of those over the years. Also feels like it could be a pretty interesting forehand disc. I'll throw this one. It was $1, so maybe a water disc for me, who knows? And I picked up 2 Prodigy molds for $1 each as well. This one, I believe, is the FX2. Yeah, FX2 here. I'll pick up anything that feels really good from a Prodigy standpoint when I'm in replay. I'm usually just donating these to Hayden Fredrickson, who hopefully we're going to be pulling for him at Waco. He got the sponsor, one of those sponsor spots in because he's on the Prodigy team. So we're going to be rooting hard for Hayden, local here in DFW, one of my good friends, and then also picked up an H1 in the 700 plastic, which I know is something he's been looking for. Super flat top, incredibly stiff. Like, I kind of want to throw this one and see how this flies, because I love stiff plastic, that's for sure. All right, last one with Prodigy PX3, I believe is what this is. Yeah, PX3. And the 400 plastic matches my A2 I have in the bag. I'm trying to mess around with beads on putters and mid-ranges, because the way I hold my backhand, it's like a modified power grip, and I have like a cleaner release whenever I've got a bead that I can just slot like right here. It feels like I have a cleaner release, which I've actually never experimented around with. So I would normally throw like a zone backhand, but this feels a little bit better with the same flight. So I am playing around with this. It was $5. So, you know, always trying to throw new plastic and see what's out there. This is an EMAC Trespass for $1. And then I had a 2-time Ricky Opto Explorer, which it's $1. You know, I will be giving these away if I don't like them, donating them, or yeah, who knows. I always have friends who are coming over and trying to say, like, getting into disc golf. They all know I play, so it could be an easy one to give to somebody else. But I will throw this because the fairway slot is the one slot in my bag that I have the biggest trouble with. Overall, awesome pickups. 31 discs. That's a lot. But a lot of cool things to add to the channel to throw to see if it fits the bag, and some really cool things that, will keep funding the hobby. So always want to shout out the guys at Replay. Awesome store, great dudes. So go check it out if you haven't gone in there. It's ridiculous. Hopefully you've seen some of the video that added in here of just how ridiculously big their used disc selection is. And besides that, I picked up a blue and a pink PA3 because I'm always throwing them in the backyard. I think I've got like 20 PA3s now I've picked up from them that, put it on the putter pod, get some putts in. So that's it. That was 31 discs for about 200 bucks. I think we did well. But if you did have any info on that Eagle, let me know. All right. Thanks, guys.